Shalom, I'm Rabbi Jonathan, and today I'm reading from 1 Samuel chapters 9, 10, 11, and 12, and I'm reading from the TLV version of the Bible. Now there was a man of Benjamin, whose name was Kish, son of Abiel, son of Zeror, son of Bechorath, son of Aphiah, son of a Benjamite. He was a mighty man of valor, and he had a son whose name was Saul. Young and handsome, there was no one among Bnei Israel better than him. From his shoulders and up, he was taller than any of the people. Now the donkeys of Kish, Saul's father, were lost. So Kish said to his son Saul, "Take now one of the servants with you. Get up and look for the donkeys." So he passed through the hill country of Ephraim, and passed through the land of Shalishah, but they did not find them. Then they passed through the land of Sha'alim, but they were not there. Then he passed through the land of Benjamin, but still did not find them. When they arrived in the land of Zuph, Saul said to his servant with him, "Come, let's go back. Otherwise, my father will stop worrying about the donkeys and start worrying about us." Then his servant said to him, "Behold now, there is a man of God in this town, and he is a man held in honor. Everything he says is sure to come true. Now let's go there. Perhaps he'll tell us the way we should go." Then said Saul to his servant, "But look, if we go, what would we bring the man? For the bread is gone from our sacks, and there is nothing to bring to the man of God as a present. What do we have?" The servant answered Saul again and said, "Behold, I have in my hand a quarter of a shekel of silver. I will give it to the man of God, and he will tell us our way." Formerly in Israel, when a man went to inquire of God, he said, "Come, let's go to the seer." For today's prophet was formerly called a seer. Then Saul said to his servant, "Well said, come, let's go." So they went to the town where the man of God was. As they went up the hill to the town, they found some girls going out to draw water, and they asked them, "Is the seer here?" They answered them and said, "He is there, ahead of you. Hurry now, for he has come today to the town because people have a sacrifice at the high place today. As soon as you enter the town, you'll find him before he goes up to the high place to eat. For the people will not eat until he comes, because he must first bless the sacrifice. Afterward the guests can eat. So now get up, for you will find him at once." So they went up to the town. As they were entering the town, behold, Samuel was coming out toward them to go up to the high place. One day before Saul came, Adonai had revealed to Samuel, saying, "Tomorrow about this time I will send you a man from the land of Benjamin, and you will anoint him ruler over my people Israel. He will deliver my people from the hand of the Philistines. I have observed my people, because their cry has come to me." When Samuel saw Saul, Adonai spoke to him, "Behold, this is the man I told you about. This one will govern my people." Then Saul approached Samuel inside the gate and asked, "Tell me, please, where the seer's house is." Samuel answered Saul by saying, "I am the seer. Go up ahead of me to the high place. For today you will eat with me. In the morning when I send you off, I will tell you everything that is in your heart. As for the donkeys that you lost 3 days ago, don't set your heart on them, for they have been found. Now for whom is all that is desirable in Israel? Is it not for you and for all your father's household?" Saul answered by saying, "Am I not a Benjamite, from the smallest of the tribes of Israel, and my clan is the least of all the clans of the tribe of Benjamin? So why do you say such things to me?" Then Samuel took Saul and his servant, and brought them into the hall, and gave them a place at the head of the guests, who numbered about 30 people. Samuel said to the cook, "Bring the portion that I gave you and told you to set aside." So the cook took up the thigh, raised it, and set it before Saul. Then he said, "Here is what has been reserved. Set it before you and eat, because it has been kept until this appointed time for you, since I said I have invited the people." So Saul ate with Samuel that day. When they came down from the high place to the town, he spoke with Saul on the roof. They rose early, and at daybreak Samuel called to Saul on the roof, saying, "Get up, so I may send you off." So Saul got up, and both of them, he and Samuel, went outside. As they were going down toward the edge of town, Samuel said to Saul, "Tell your servant to go ahead of us and pass on. But as for you, stand still a while, so that I may proclaim to you the word of God." Then Samuel took the vial of oil and poured it on his head. Then he kissed him and said, "Has Adonai not anointed you ruler over his inheritance? When you leave me today, you will find 2 men near the tomb of Rachel in the territory of Benjamin at Zelzah. And they will say to you, the donkeys you set out to look for have been found. Behold, your father has dropped the matter about the donkeys and is worried about you, saying, what should I do about my son? Then you will go on from there until you reach the terebinth of Tabor, and there 3 men going up to God at Bethel will meet you, one carrying 3 young goats, another carrying 3 loaves of bread, and the other carrying a jug of wine. Then they will greet you and give you 2 loaves of bread, which you will receive from their hand. After that, you will arrive at the hill of God, where the garrison of the Philistines is. It will come about as soon as you enter the town that you will meet a band of prophets, coming down from the high place, preceded by a harp, a tambourine, and a flute, and they will be prophesying. Then the Ruach of Adonai will seize you, and you will prophesy with them. You will turn into another man. Now when these signs happen to you, do for yourself what the occasion requires, for God is with you. Afterward, you are to go down before me to Gilgal. And behold, I will come down to you to offer burnt offerings and sacrifice fellowship offerings. 7 days you will wait until I come to you and instruct you what you should do. Then it happened as Saul turned his back to leave Samuel, that God transformed his heart, and all those signs came to pass that day. When they arrived there at the hill, behold, a band of prophets did meet him, and suddenly the Ruach of God overtook him, and subsequently he prophesied among them. So when all who knew him formerly saw him prophesying with the prophets, they said to one another, what has happened to the son of Kish? Is Saul also among the prophets? Someone there asked, who is their father? Therefore it became a proverb, is Saul also among the prophets? When he finished prophesying, he came to the high place. Now Saul's uncle asked him and his servant, where did you go? And he said, to look for the donkeys. But when we saw that they could not be found, we went to Samuel. Saul's uncle said, tell me now, what did Samuel say to you? He assured us that the donkeys had been found. Saul said to his uncle, but concerning the matter of kingship about which Samuel spoke, he told him nothing. Then Samuel summoned the people to Adonai at Mizpah. He said to Bnei Israel, thus says Adonai, God of Israel, I brought Israel out of Egypt, and I delivered you from the hand of the Egyptians and from the hand of all the kingdoms that oppressed you. But today you have spurned your God, who is your deliverer from all your calamities and your distresses. For you said to him, no, rather set a king over us. Now therefore present yourselves before Adonai by your tribes and by your thousands. So Samuel brought all the tribes of Israel near, and the tribe of Benjamin was chosen. Then he brought forward the tribe of Benjamin by its clans, and the clan of the Metrites was chosen. Finally Saul, son of Kish, was chosen, but when they looked for him, he could not be found. Therefore they inquired of Adonai further, has the man come here yet? Adonai answered, he has just hidden himself among the baggage. So they ran and brought him from there. When he stood among the people, he was taller than any of the people from his shoulders up. Then Samuel announced to all the people, do you see the one Adonai has chosen? Surely there is no one like him among all the people. Then all the people shouted and said, long live the king. Then Samuel explained to the people the rules of kingship, wrote them in a scroll, and placed it before Adonai. Then Samuel sent all the people away, every man to his house. Saul also went home to Gibeah, accompanied by men of valor whose hearts God had touched. But certain worthless men said, how can this one save us? So they despised him and brought him no present, but he kept silent. Now Nahash the Ammonite marched up and encamped against Jabesh Gilead. Then all the men of Jabesh said to Nahash, make a treaty with us, and we will serve you. But Nahash the Ammonite said to them, only on this condition will I make a treaty with you, by gouging out the right eye of every one of you. Thus I will bring disgrace on all Israel. So the elders of Jabesh said to him, give us 7 days' respite, so we may send messengers throughout all the territory of Israel. If no one comes to deliver us, we will surrender to you. When the messengers came to Gibeah of Saul, and spoke these words in the hearing of the people, all the people lifted up their voice and wept. Now behold, Saul was coming from the field behind the oxen. So Saul asked, why are the people weeping? Then they told him the words of the men of Jabesh. Then the Ruach of God suddenly rushed upon Saul when he heard those words, and his anger blazed. So he took a pair of oxen, cut them in pieces, and sent them throughout all the territory of Israel by the hand of messengers, saying, whoever does not come out after Saul and after Samuel, so will it be done to his oxen. So the dread of Adonai fell on the people, and they came out as one man. He numbered them in Bezek, and Bnei Israel were 300,000, and the men of Judah 30,000. So they said to the messengers who came, Thus will you say to the men of Jabesh Gilead, Tomorrow by the time the sun is hot, you will have deliverance. The messengers came and told the men of Jabesh, and they were glad. Then the men of Jabesh said, Tomorrow we will surrender to you, and you can do to us whatever seems good to you. So it was on the following day that Saul divided the people into 3 columns. They penetrated into the midst of the camp at the morning watch, and struck down the Ammonites until the heat of day. It came about that the survivors were scattered, so that no 2 of them were left together. Then the people said to Samuel, Who was it who said, Should Saul reign over us? Bring them in, so we may put them to death. But Saul replied, No man will be put to death this day, for today Adonai has brought deliverance to Israel. Then Samuel said to the people, Come, let's go to Gilgal, and reaffirm the kingdom there. So all the people went to Gilgal, and there they made Saul king before Adonai in Gilgal. There they sacrificed fellowship offerings before Adonai, and there Saul and all the men of Israel rejoiced greatly. Then Samuel said to all Israel, Behold, I have listened to your voice, and all you said to me, and have set a king over you. Now here is the king who will go before you, while I am old and gray. Also here are my sons with you. I have gone before you from my youth to this day. Here I am. Witness against me before Adonai and before his anointed. Whose ox have I taken, or whose donkey have I taken? Whom have I defrauded, or whom have I oppressed? From whose hand have I taken a bribe to look the other way? I will restore it to you. They replied, You haven't defrauded us, or oppressed us, or taken anything from anyone's hand. Then he said to them, Adonai is then a witness against you, and his anointed is a witness this day that you have not found anything in my hand. He is a witness, they replied. Then Samuel said to the people, It is Adonai who appointed Moses and Aaron, and who brought your fathers up from the land of Egypt. So now stand still, so that I may plead with you before Adonai concerning all the righteous acts of Adonai, which he did for you and your fathers. When Jacob entered Egypt, and your fathers cried out to Adonai, then Adonai sent Moses and Aaron, who brought your fathers out of Egypt, and settled them in this place. But they forgot Adonai their God, so he gave them over into the hands of Sisera, captain of the army of Hazor, into the hand of the Philistines, and into the hand of the king of Moab, who fought against them. So they cried out to Adonai and said, We have sinned because we have forsaken Adonai and have worshipped the Baalim and the Ashtaroth. But now deliver us from the hand of our enemies, and we will worship you. Then Adonai sent Jerubbaal, Bedan, Jephthah, and Samuel, and delivered you from the hand of your enemies on every side, so that you might live securely. But when you saw Nahash, king of the Ammonites, marching against you, you said to me, No, but a king must reign over us, even though Adonai your God is your king. Now therefore here is the king whom you have chosen, and whom you have asked for, and behold, Adonai has set him as king over you. If you fear Adonai and worship him, and listen to his voice, and do not rebel against the command of Adonai, then both you as well as the king who reigns over you will be following Adonai your God. But if you do not listen to the voice of Adonai, and rebel against the command of Adonai, then the hand of Adonai will be against you, and against your fathers. Now stand by and see this great thing that Adonai will do before your eyes. Is it not wheat harvest season today? I will call to Adonai that he may send thunder and rain. Then you will know and see that your wickedness is great, which you have done in the sight of Adonai by asking for yourselves a king. So Samuel prayed to Adonai, and Adonai sent thunder and rain that day. Then all the people greatly feared Adonai and Samuel. And all the people said to Samuel, Pray for your servants to Adonai your God, that we will not die. For we have added to all our sins this evil by asking for ourselves a king. Samuel said to the people, Fear not. Indeed, you have done all this evil. Yet do not turn aside from following Adonai, but worship Adonai with all your heart. Do not turn aside to go after empty things that cannot profit or deliver, for they are futile. For Adonai will not forsake his people, for his great name's sake, because it has pleased Adonai to make you a people to himself. Moreover, as for me, far be it from me that I should sin against Adonai by ceasing to pray for you. Yet I will keep instructing you in the good and straight way. Only fear Adonai and worship him in truth with all your heart, considering how magnificently he has dealt with you. But if you persist in acting wickedly, you will be swept away, both you and your king.